Hi, welcome to Introspection with Jeff. Um, I came up with this fun idea. I've been delving into my own past and own problems and issues and so forth for it being, in a general sense, the traits I believe that define me. If you can pause it and read my handwriting, you may be able to make out the whole thing all at once, or for later reference. So I made a list of believe me, if this is shown backwards, it's not going to make much sense. But I made a list of my strengths, as you can tell over here somewhere. I think I put strengths and weaknesses. After a while, after a while you're writing as I do, you come up with shorthand writing styles. I listed some of my strengths, and then I edited and added kind of offshoots. When I would draw an arrow offshooting something written here, that means that it's not to be added, but it's like a ramification, or if it's like some other aspect of me, like a sub aspect that applies to this primary aspect. And then down here, I have then I started to generalize and break these down into these fundamental elements. Okay, let me start at the top. With my strength, I put one weakness here. And actually, this dovetails into something I wanted to talk about anyway. The other day, not the most recent time at the supermarket at work, but I think the day before, it would have been like Monday, probably Monday or Sunday. I was working there. I mentioned that I had started this channel, and she remarked, "Gee, I didn't think anybody actually did that." And she said that it takes it. Basically, I'm very brave, bare my soul, and so forth. She she characterized herself as one of those people that couldn't stand in front of a class and read something she wrote. So and when she said that, I didn't mention it, but I thought of that moment from a Star Trek episode, 1966 Star Trek episode called "The Enemy Within," where Kirk is accidentally split into two people. Sometime I will do that video on the importance of Star Trek. It's a show that sadly I think too many people are overlooking. But anyway, in the episode "The Enemy Within," Kirk is split into two people. One that's aggressive, the other that's passive. And meanwhile, there's a party that's on a planet, and they're approaching death by they have to find this other aggressive Kirk roaming around the ship. And so then at some point, they locate him in engineering. The passive Kirk and his friend Spock confront the aggressive one. And the aggressive one lurches backward, like steps backward. He has a phaser in his hand, and he thanks to Spock's nerve pinch, his fire misses and hits a critical system. And like a lot of Star Trek episodes, we've got to repair the system. It's critical. Anyway, so then the next moment they're in sickbay, and Kirk is talking with the doctor, Dr. McCoy, and he's looking at his aggressive version. Because they are two separate people. I mean, they're divided through a transporter accident. They're divided, and then they materialize as two separate people. He sees his aggressive version sedated and just like lying there in a sickbay bed, and he's talking with the doctor, and the doctor says, it sort of comforts him, and says, well, you see, no. Kirk the passive Kirk was concerned about integrating this aggressive version back into himself to become whole again. And how can he also make decisions? He's not capable of, without that aggressive side, he's not capable of making the hard decisions, such as figuring out whether to transport the dying crew back up to the ship. It gets a little complicated. I mean, it's more involving than that. That's why there's a dilemma on him. The doctor says essentially that perhaps that's where man's essential courage comes from intelligence, because you, the passive Kirk, have the intelligence, and you were able to confront him because, and he didn't elaborate on it, but reading between the lines, I can understand. Kirk has the intelligence to be able to reach beyond himself, his own selfish needs and desires, to understand the whole situation, how it affects everyone. And so that tells him he needs to confront this aggressive version of himself. And then there's an interesting point with Spock where, all right, in the beginning of the episode, near the beginning of the episode, there's a dog that's also been split into two. There's an aggressive version and a passive version, and at some point they try and use the transporter to fuse them back together again, and unfortunately, when the dog rematerializes, the dog is dead. So there's that concern. Will the same thing happen to Captain Kirk? And Spock, who is half Vulcan, he has a Vulcan father and a human mother. He says the dog probably died of shock. Not what Dr. McCoy was suggesting, that perhaps it was some physiological problem with the transporter. Spock was arguing, no. The dog probably died of shock. And he himself can sympathize with that because, as he says, and I'm almost quoting word for word, I, meaning Spock, have an alien half as well as a human half, submerged, constantly at war with each other. I survive it because my intelligence wins out over both, makes them live together. And so, one of my favorite moments and one of my favorite phrases in all of Star Trek. So anyway, back to this. I wrote down, so back to that weakness. I went over to the coworker and I said, there is one weakness I do recognize in myself, and that's when somebody compliments me on something well done. I don't take in the compliment wholeheartedly. That doesn't mean that it certainly doesn't mean that I don't appreciate the comment. I like it when people compliment me. I suppose the best word is relieved that they acknowledge my abilities. And so I'm so relieved about that I guess I don't take in all my, I don't take in the compliment as deeply, perhaps. It's something I'll look into, but I believe that's the one weakness I know that's the one weakness I've seen in myself, which is pretty good. I can't think of that many weaknesses. Okay, now we go to strengths. I put down at first, initially, I put down the whole picture. It's like if you were going to a job interview. I have a talent for seeing how everything interrelates and the whole picture. For example, the what I was talking about, the five books of Moses. I enjoy looking at conceptual systems and proposed models of how everything works. Like I'm very interested in genetics and the Big Bang and how the universe operates. I'm very interested in Kabbalah, which deals with whole systems and models of how the divine is and um, what's the underlying mechanism that the Bible is talking about. Um, so, for those of you who are kind of mystified and in the dark as to what Kabbalah is, in my opinion, that's what Kabbalah is. That's the thrust of all these Kabbalistic texts. Basically, that's what they're. That's what it's for. That's what it's describing. Um, I like to see the whole picture. I assume that was true for everybody, but perhaps not. I'm also very imaginative, exceptionally. Like one defining characteristic of me is that I'm imaginative. I like to draw, and I especially like watching television and film and imagining stories just in general. As a child, I would take my Transformers or my Star Wars action figures and I would imagine different scenarios they were in. Although actually, I never actually took, I don't think I really ever took Star Wars action figures and played out scenarios. I didn't really take Transformers and play out scenarios. In my head, when I would read the text specs paragraphs written about the characters, in my head, I would imagine what they were like and what they would do in this situation and the ramifications, like the elaborations on the characters developed. So I wasn't one really for sitting down and just playing. I just looked at them as works of art. I put down yearning to understand the universe. I think I've already explained that. Several of these would probably merge together. That's why I took this list and I began to merge it into these primary things down here. I put down wanting to experience. As I've mentioned before, like cross-dressing, and I have at least two other fetishes, mermaids and merfolk, and I want to say halflings. They're not halflings. Like half this, half that creature, and a couple of other fetishes. They all have a common theme or common trait, which is bending reality, bending how we see the world. And I also want to experience what it's like. In general, I want to experience what it's like to live in Los Angeles. I want to experience what it would be like to be on the Enterprise in Star Trek. I want to gain the experience and know what it's like to be in these different environments and embody these different forms. So I can imagine if I were given a special power, superhero power, I'd want to be able to metamorphosis, morph into other forms, other forms. Bonding with people and with things that I own, and I put in parentheses memories. By that I mean when I'm talking with someone, I picked up that I'm adept at picking up nuances, and as I'm talking to the person, I'm looking at the face and I'm imagining that other person, what I know of that other person. I'm like wondering and imagining that other person. It's kind of weird. Actually, it'd be an interesting topic in and of itself, what I'm doing when I do that. tell me if you, I guess in the comments, tell me if, or wherever, right now they're being put down there, but tell me in the comments if you do the same thing or something similar. Um, when you're talking to someone, do you like look at their face and kind of imagine what you know about the other person and um, what you would imagine, like put yourself in their shoes, the other person's shoes, what you imagine what you imagine the world is like through this other person's eyes. It's perhaps the best way of putting it. Um, so, in some sense, there's a bond. I want to develop bonds with people. I also have a bond with the things I own, DVDs and books and so forth. That's why it was very difficult each time I moved. The last couple of moves, last three moves really, um, were very difficult because I bonded with all those books, many of which were left behind. But whatever I pick up, whatever I own, it's not like I just own it and I put it away somewhere. I may not read a book for years and years, but I remember having the book. I remember the nice, beautiful cover. Like, hypothetically, take for example, like I'll have a book called The Final Prophecies of Nostradamus. Well, I'll remember that cover. I'll think of Nostradamus. Um, it'll become sort of like a friend, friend. Like I know I own the book. I have some special connection with it, um, and that links with memories. And I'll also remember like when I bought the book. I remember which store I bought it in. Maybe there's somebody I was with or some event that happened when I was either buying the book or had the book on my mind or whatever, or was telling someone else about the book. Um, Same thing with Transformers and toys and so forth. Maybe that has something to do with having moved when I was a little child, before the age of 7, having moved so often. I don't think it's just that. I think I think intelligent people and people geared toward my personality type, and I'll talk about Myers Briggs personality tests, the 16 personality types, in a moment. Um, but I think it's more likely that I'm just built that way, that I just bond with these things, as I do with people. Um, I put down want to live life to the fullest. I don't know whether there's an afterlife. I'm speculating there is. And I've also speculated how how such an afterlife could exist. I've wondered about us experiencing linear time and perhaps in an afterlife existence, perhaps we experience life holistically and not linearly. Perhaps all time, like perhaps time doesn't exist at all. There's no separation. Although that would be kind of weird. It would both kind of explain the notion of being one with the universe and so forth. But it would also be a problem because how would you exist as a separate entity? I know in Kabbalah there are different. There's the soul, and then there are different levels of the soul. This is in Isaac Luria's, I believe Isaac Luria's conception of Kabbalah. Um, and on some level, it's all this one soul. And at the top, I shouldn't say the top, but in the deepest level of our awareness of our soul, there's a unity, and we're one with God or one with the divine. And then on an outer level, one level outward from that, that aspect is hidden, and we have a closeness. I believe it's called chaya, which means I believe life or living. We're one step outside of being part of God, or being God. Like it's all unified. We're one level out from that, and then one level out from that outer level begins the three common, or the three familiar levels of the soul. You have the neshama, the ruach, and the nefesh. The nefesh is the one closest to our physical bodies and physical awareness. So on some level, it's all one soul, um, but it's partly hidden from our awareness, so that we can, and that's called tsum tsim, commonly spelled Tzimtzum. I'm sorry, I got that backwards. Tzumtzim, tsum tsim, which essentially refers to contraction. In Kabbalah, basic Kabbalah, the concept is that on some level, the whole universe is divine, is the Ein Sof, which means there is no boundary. Ein meaning there is no or none, and Sof meaning boundary or limitation. And then, in order to create something outside of the Ein Sof, contracted, meaning that it contracted in some sense. You can't really say physically. It's more like it contracted awareness so that there could be another entity created, that could exist separately, and then from there it divides up. But on some level, I hope this is pretty clear. On some level, it's all unified, but it's a matter of free will and conscious and subconscious. So I want to live life to the fullest. I don't know how I got onto Kabbalah from that, but anyway, I don't remember. But I want to live life to the fullest. I want to the afterlife. Yes. I think on some level, if there's no time in the afterlife, that could explain the notion of being at one with everything. Like, for example, near-death experiences. On another hand, I don't see how you could exist as a distinct form if there's no time, because everything would be happen. Time wouldn't exist, so it couldn't delineate any action taken by you. So I don't see how you could be doing something or thinking something, performing any action, because that automatically implies there's some demarcation in time. Anyway, I also have an aspect of optimism, very constructive. I think the best of people, and I think people are inherently good-natured. I don't mean good-natured. I mean don't have ill will. On some level, inherently, I think people don't have ill will. I think they're genetic. I mean, the people that do bad things, I think, do them for two reasons. One, they give into vices, and they give into their weaker selves. That brings up one of my favorite quotes from Genesis, the book of Genesis, where just after, the story of Cain and Abel, where Cain is clearly jealous of Abel's offering being favored by Yud-Heh-Vav-Heh, and Cain's wasn't. So Cain takes his aggression. It doesn't say that he planned to murder Cain or Abel. It just says you get from the story that's because there had been no deaths before that. So you know that he took his aggression out on Abel, and in fact, Abel dies. And now Cain is worried. Well, wow, I just killed my brother. What if somebody should go after me? So Yud He Vav He, in a moment of mercy, puts a mark. I don't know if it says on his forehead, but it puts a mark on him as a protection. Anyone who hurts you will answer to me. But anyway, about that moment, Yud He Vav He warns Cain that evil crouches. It depends on the translation. Evil or sin crouches, and the Jewish concept of sin is different from the Christian sense. But evil lurks in the corner, but you can be master over it. And that's one of my favorite lines in Judaism in general, but from the 5 books. And it's appropriate that that's mentioned early on in this whole epic of the 5 books of Moses. All right, so why do people do bad things? I believe that they either give in to vices, they let the darker natures, like in Star Wars, like Anakin Skywalker, they let their darker natures take control over them. Or there's some physiological cause of it, neurological cause of it. But outside of that, I think people are born with either a clean slate or a natural intent to do good and be liked and treat other people the way they themselves would want to be treated. And it's only later on that I believe that they're conditioned to hate this group and think that way and be bigoted and so forth. And my other trait is that I'm diligent, hardworking. Why am I diligent, hardworking? Well, I suspect that it's because of ego, and it's because of my desire to want things. That's what drives me. I know that if I work hard, I'll gain something, either knowledge about something, or literally actually gain something like money or some possession or something. And also, I'm loyal to people. Why am I loyal? I like to also think of Spock in Star Trek being Vulcans being known for their loyalty. Why do I feel loyalty? Well, I think it's because I value this other person that I'm loyal to, the other person's feelings, and I don't want to hurt their feelings. Yeah, I can't think of any other reason. I don't want to hurt the other person's feelings. And that, I'm sure, if I really examine myself, I can come up with circumstances when that's really, bitten me in the where. I've already mentioned the one weakness I can think of, accepting compliments. That I don't accept compliments as deeply as perhaps I should on a regular basis. So those are the things I put up here. Let me see if I skipped anything. Then there was one other thing I didn't put in at first. I went down here. I did this, and I went down here to these and marked these 3 to narrow down this. I put in it for number 1, maximum. And then within maximum, I have want to experience and want to know. I put maximum meaning these 2 things, want to experience and want to know. I want the maximum of it. I want to experience the fullest, and I want to know the fullest, the maximum. I think I've been pretty clear about wanting to know in terms of maximum knowledge. want to experience, I put then take it and consider reality, bending possibilities, and then I put a sub arrow to that and put interest in paranormal. When I was a child growing up, I was fascinated by, and I read books about the Bermuda Triangle, UFOs, ghosts, Bigfoot, and so forth. I was intrigued by the possibility, and that's where my imagination creeps in. And I was also intrigued by bending our expectations of reality. And I always liked, I guess, an escape from the things that seem too familiar to me. The sights and sounds and so forth, the senses that are what the senses take in that are too familiar. I want variety. I guess maybe that's another trait. I want variety. Um, and then that's also, I think that also works into my fetishes. It would be interesting to read a book or delve into a study on fetishes. Can you categorize fetishes? I know, as I'm about to go into, there's the Myers-Briggs 16 Personalities catalog. But I've been wanting to see something. I know that somebody might mention the Kinsey report, or there have been studies into fetishes and so forth. And I mentioned Ray Blanchard before, but I don't think it's really been delved to it to the extent that it deserves. But my fetishes are very imaginative, and they, as I said before, they all have a common trait of bending reality and being supernatural, being outside the norm. Outside, I don't want to say outside the norm because that just seems like risk taking or whatever, and it's vague. It seems outside what we recognize as familiar. All right, so that's point number one in this lower list here. And then point number two is simply diligent. I've already explained that. And then the final one there, number three is want people to know me. This is a big one. Want people to know me based on my ability and my personality. And I put an arrow to that and wrote fame. People may be surprised. People that I went to school with may be surprised, like in high school and so forth, may be surprised by this because I didn't talk very much. I didn't really socialize that much. But basically, I have this tremendous ego. Now, in terms of Freudian id, super id, and ego, perhaps I'm not using ego the way that was defined there. I define ego as neither good nor bad. I define ego as my sense of self, basically my sense of self. And basically promotion, I believe I have self-worth. I've always believed that, even as a child. I guess this entire thing delves and connects with my history, past history. I've always believed I have self-worth. If I were hurt or something, I never believed badly about myself. I saw it as a situation I'd be stuck in. Perhaps I'd be frustrated about someone else, but I don't, not to say, I guess, that I didn't regret some things I've done, but actually I don't think there are many things I have regretted because I believe either I've blocked them out of my mind, or they're small things that I've regretted, like not, I could have done better in school, stuff like that, but I haven't hurt other people intentionally. I don't think I've ever hurt other people intentionally. Because I cared about them. What was I saying? I believe I've always had self-worth, even as a child. And it said that a lot of times that if somebody doesn't value themselves, then they don't place that same value on other people, and that works in this thing. I believe I have self-worth, so I haven't tried to hurt other people, or I haven't taken my hurt feelings of myself. I haven't projected my own hurt feelings onto other people and taken it out on them. So there's Exhibit A, or whatever. So there's this part. I used to think of it as a Napoleonic complex, but that's not. Then I found out what a Napoleonic complex means. It means that it's almost the opposite. It means that you're trying to compensate for some shortcoming you see in yourself, and that's not what I mean at all. All right, what I meant by Napoleonic complex is that a lot of self-worth, a lot of certainty that I'm on the right path, and I believe I know what's right, and I know what's best. Not what's necessarily what's right. I know what's best, and I have deep belief in my capabilities, that I am capable. I'm determined. I'm diligent, and I'm talented in these areas. Not that I'm talented necessarily in everything. I know I'm not talented in everything, particularly in sports and basketball. But I'm Jewish. Sorry. It's a happy stereotypical joke, but no. But I have many talents, imagination, and being able to bond with people, and traits that I think would make me a pretty good person in the entertainment industry, whether that's singing or writing films or designing shows, designing this. I like particularly to design whole new worlds, and I see myself as something like George Lucas in that I can design. I think I'm pretty good at designing like worlds, the world of a story, or the world. You get what I mean. So, and also that works into my desire to go into politics after the 1992. Well, it started during the 1992 campaign. But I wanted to go into politics and become president because I believed that I was on the right track in terms of how to solve some of our world problems or national problems. I was excited to have people know me, and this is another aspect. As somebody who doesn't have that much power to gain popularity, people know you. I didn't have that. At least I don't think I did. At least on a wide scale, I don't. And I don't want to be infamous, but I want people to know who I am. Why do I want people to know who I am? I want people to know, first of all, that I'm capable. And this gets to the crux of it. Name some famous person. Why are they famous? Like, what do you think of when you think of John F. Kennedy? Well, you think of him being charismatic. You imagine his face. He was president. You can imagine the things he had accomplished as president. You can imagine, if you know him pretty well, you can imagine what he wanted to do during his presidency, and so forth and so on. I want people to know about what I want. In some sense, it's that bonding that I was talking about earlier. As much as I want to bond with other people and know, and like see into their eyes and know what they're thinking, I want other people to be able to know what I'm about, what I enjoy, what my talents are. That's what I think of as fame. And if you're famous to that level, like JFK or Bill Clinton or Madonna or Cher or Billy Crystal or whatever, I'm just throwing names out of Uh, you yourself don't have to work that hard. People already know you, and um, I felt the more people know me and recognize me already, it's like if I make an entrance and I go up to somebody, if they already know things about me, and I've been, good, I'm comfortable with what I've achieved in life. If they, that's interesting. A thought just occurred to me. If I'm comfortable with what I've achieved in life, and somebody comes over and I'm famous, and he already knows those things about me, that's an introduction right there. I don't have to explain this and that, and I'm interested in this or whatever. It's like he's already been briefed. We can go from there. I was thinking before. One thing that here, you can know somebody by their pet peeves and what really triggers them. I mean, like, triggers their anger, triggers their frustrations. Um, that says something about their personality too, like what I'm talking about here. Um, if somebody doesn't, if somebody believes a rumor, a false rumor about me, if people don't really understand me, that's, I'm giving away my secret, but that's a trigger for me. That's a pet peeve. I don't want to say it's a trigger. It's it's something that bothers me. It's one thing that makes me not feel good. If people misunderstand me, and I went through high school and middle school and so forth like that. Pretty much all my life, I've been concerned about that. To be honest, I've been concerned about that. When I voice some frustration or voice something like I'm struggling, looking for work, and a therapist or somebody has asked, "Oh, why does it concern you?" and so forth, and I end up saying, I want them to know me for who I am, and if I'm working at a job I enjoy, I prefer to be in a field of my interest, so they know if I'm working in there, then that's some clue as to what I'm interested in. Or like, if, for example, if I'm working in music industry, that implies I enjoy music, and they link me with they link me with music, and that's something that they can approach me about. Um, so, um, so I think fame is a good thing, and if I do become famous and wealthy and so forth, I don't think that I doubt that I'd have problems with it, because I say that now. I doubt that I have problems with that because I grew up poor for so long that I understand money. I understand the importance of making decisions, and I've seen so many biopics, movies based on people, where they make their scenes in those movies showing them making critical decisions. Um, I believe I can make good critical decisions. I think I have a good sense of decision making. So I'd like to try my hand at that and also demonstrate. There's another thing. I'd like to demonstrate that I'm capable. It goes back to talents and abilities. I'd like to demonstrate that I am capable of making good decisions and have a good sense of things. Um, Let me see. I know I didn't mention. I've yet to mention the 16 personality types. Um, I'm just looking through. Yeah, unless there's something I can think of later. I guess that's the one remaining thing left. Um, Now, when I looked into what's called the Myers-Briggs, Myers-Briggs, I forget what TI stands for. Test indicator. Maybe I was right. I know it's Myers-Briggs TI something. But anyway, they came up with what's now 16 personality types. Rather than take the test, which could cost money or whatever, I'm I'm a Macintosh user, Apple computer user. I tend to just work intuitively. I just went through all 16 types, and there's one that just jumped right out, and it practically nailed me. Um, it's At first I figured it would be INFP, Later, I changed the I to an E, but uh, I standing for introvert and E standing for extrovert, because after thinking it through, I thought I am more of an extrovert than an introvert. And it's interesting that I've read that an ENFP is the most introverted of the extrovert types. So I think I was onto something with that. But look it up. There, I think I fit that to a T. Although I would have a little bit of a qualm about not being able to finish what you've started. That'd be an interesting topic to go through, considering my writer's blocks and my periods of trying to be successful at putting out and establishing myself in the film industry. Um, that would be an interesting thing to examine. Sometime in a future video, I have thought of this. As a matter of fact, yesterday I was thinking of this. I do want to put out a video examining my my efforts to put out films, like my story writing in general, history of my story writing. I also wanted to put out another video about dating and relationships with women. That would be something. Anyway, I didn't write down the. I didn't finish what I started. No, I didn't write down the basic traits of the ENFP personality type or INFP personality type. You can look it up. It's on the internet. You can probably look at Wikipedia, and it'll probably have it right there. But I remember it as creative, very much a people person, energized by working with other people. Fits me as well. Maybe I should do a revised version of this video after going through those different traits. But then again, I didn't want to do that specifically because I wanted to be free of adapting what I wanted to say to somebody else's category. I wanted to talk about myself in this video and see if it matches, see how well it matches. But I do see a similarity in terms of creativity and bonding with people and dealing with people on like a human level and using my intuition, relying on my intuition for making decisions. When I make a decision, I try to see the whole picture. I think of what goal do I want to achieve, not just my own personal interest, but what is the end result that I want done or want to take a want to obtain from it. So I guess that's it for right now. Happy Thanksgiving, and I'll talk to you soon.